We think that what's gone on recently with some of the games that are being played with 2642 over in the Senate, and some of the games that are being played with the Reading Sufficiency Act, which thousands of third graders across the state of Oklahoma are sitting in classrooms today taking that test. We have grown weary of the games that have been played by the Republican majority, as the games that really affect the lives of our students. Our public school system needs some sort of certainty that there will be proper levels of funding so that we can start to shrink our class sizes, buy new textbooks, actually put resources back into the classroom. And those students taking our tests need to have some sense of assurance that that if these high stakes tests, if they just happen to be some student who doesn't take a high stakes test well, that they're not necessarily going to be held back based upon one particular test score. Legislation passed out of the House of Representatives a few weeks ago that we support and we believe should have been on the governor's desk by now, but the Senate Republicans are playing games with it. We're not confident that the governor even wants to sign these tweaks that actually put the power back in the hands of the folks at the local level, the parents, the teachers, and the principals. We think that's good common sense. We agree with the House Republicans who are pushing it, and we hope that they'll, in the Senate, will get right with that legislation and move it forward. Yesterday's developments in the Appropriations Committee were interesting. My caucus is happy that we're moving forward on the American Indian Cultural Center, Native American Indian Cultural Center. We have said for all along that whether you support it or don't support it, at this point we believe it deserves a vote on the House floor. We've kicked this can down the road for far too long. We're spending nearly $1 million a year to mothball the project, and to do so again this year just for partisan political purposes because they don't want to take a vote that may or may not be tough depending upon your perspective, we believe is the wrong approach. So we were happy that it passed out of committee, and we're calling on Representative Hickman to set aside this unreasonable goal of 51 Republicans to support it before it can be heard on the House floor. I've been here for 8 years, and never in my 8-year career, and I've asked folks who've been here longer, never in their careers have they ever seen a Speaker of the House establish a 51-vote majority requirement out of one particular caucus. If you do the math with the 29 members of my caucus supporting it, and if Speaker Hickman does really stick to his guns on the 51-vote majority from the House Majority Caucus, he's essentially requiring there to be 80 yes votes on the Cultural Center bill before it can be brought up to the floor. It doesn't take but 68 votes to override a governor's veto, but yet he's requiring 80 yes votes, essentially, for the bill to be heard on the floor. That is an unreasonable bar, and we believe that it just needs to be called up, and if it passes, so be it. If it fails, so be it, but it needs to be called up, and it needs to be called up as soon as possible. And then finally, again, we are discouraged that the House Republicans and the Senate Republicans continue to be focused on cutting income taxes at a time of budget cuts for things like higher education and other core functions of government. We've said it all along, 30,000 teachers tried to get the message across to them. We need to invest in core functions of government as we're growing out of this hole and not continue to dig deeper and deeper. If you're trying to prevent children from starting smoking, then if you make something that tastes better and looks better and doesn't make your clothes smell or whatever it is, make that readily available to them, then you do start them down that path, and you want to make sure that doesn't happen. The other concern too is you got to worry about the cost of it all, and that's something that I guess with yesterday's action, the tax part of the legislation that died in committee yesterday, we'll see how that ultimately gets settled, because right now the vapor products and the e-cigarettes are substantially cheaper because of the way they're taxed than our normal cigarettes. And so you have one side of the argument that I'm supportive of that says, well, they can be used to help people stop smoking, right? So in that sense, you want them to be more readily available to the adults who are smoking who want to use them to stop smoking. So therefore, that's a good thing to make them somewhat cheaper because you give them the incentive to move towards e-cigarettes. But at the same time, you're also making it cheaper for teenagers to purchase them. And so there has to be some sort of balance that hopefully we'll be able to reach either this session or sometime next year.